So we're coming right up against another really critical topic, joined here by Andrew MacDonald, Christina Heller, Dulce Baerga. There's no real presence in the metaverse without avatars, and we often take for granted avatars without really considering what a complex job it is to get this right. There are many ways to get avatars horribly wrong or partially wrong, but to do them well is no mean feat. So one wrong turn, you're in uncanny valley. We saw some of that at the Metaverse Connect, the Meta Connect things. So this is a technical look at what you need to know to understand how avatars are made for performance and scale. So welcome Dulce, Christina, Andrew, and Jin. Over to you.
Hey guys, thank you. It's wonderful to be here with all of you. And it's awesome to be on the stage with Jen, Andrew, and Christina, some amazing technologists in this space, really driving WebXR and mixed reality spatial computing in general. It's just really exciting to be here with all of you. I'd like for you all to give an intro. I'd like to start with Christina. She's the CEO of Metastage. Go ahead, Christina.
Sure. Thanks so much for having me. Hi, everybody. I'm Christina Heller, and I'm the CEO of Metastage. Metastage specializes in volumetric video capture. So that is the process of taking full, authentic, real performances and capturing them in 3D for integration into AR, VR, and a number of other virtual software where a 3D asset would be useful. And I think on this panel, I'm going to be talking about some of the advancements that have been made in adding a skeleton and rigging volumetric captures. So yeah, excited to be here and be with Andrew and all of these great panelists. It's great.
And then we have Andrew, the creative director over at, what's your company name again? I'm so sorry.
It's Cream Productions.
Cream Productions. Okay, yes. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I'm a creative director at Cream Productions. So I'm working on building experiences and games and apps and such in AR. I'm the kind of person that would go to Christine for some work to be done. So yeah, I'm on the sort of producer side of it, needing digital humans, and we've developed some of our own solutions to problems that existed at the time when we were trying to create some digital humans for a VR project. So that's me.
Very cool. And Jen, WebXR pioneer, tell us a little bit about yourself. And you're represented as an amazing avatar that you obviously created. Yeah, like you're just...
Yeah, I figure, go with the theme, eat our own dog food per se. I live and breathe this stuff. I build in all sorts of different platforms, often at the same time, because I'm interested in the in-between, the plugins, tools, and standards that can make all of this less friction and more freedom.
Nice. So we have a pretty interesting intersection here of avatar creation. We've got Jen, who's WebXR. We've got the volumetric high-end capture. And we try to have to meet in the middle here with some of this to avoid the uncanny valley that Daniel was talking about. I want to just ask a high-level question to start, and just to get at the root of what drives you. Like, why do you create avatars? What is it about avatars specifically that makes you want to make them and give them to the world to use? So whoever wants to start.
Well, I can start because I need to make them. So in my specific case, Cream itself is a television production company, and actually that's my background is working as a cameraman in TV for decades. More recently, I've got into building in volumetric worlds, which is incredible. Like what we can do now inside, the computer, building your own worlds and putting your own people in there. And now with the advent of stable diffusion and AI generated assets, it's just exploding. But in my specific case, what we're doing is taking what I know from television, which is most of my career I spent shooting host-driven sort of travel adventure shows, and bringing that into simulation VR gamified experiences. So in the case that we're doing right now, it's a VR game called Survivor Man, using Les Stroud, who was the guy who kind of invented that genre of survival show, going out into the forest with very few things, a match and a roll of tape, and surviving for 7 days. And it's pitched on celebrity because it's pitched on him being in it. Like he's there as your sort of Obi-Wan Kenobi spirit guide, as if you will, that can help a player through the game. So if you're selling celebrity, it better look like them, or you're gonna have your clients feel a little bit cheated. Oh, it's just a talking mannequin puppet, and that doesn't really feel like less. So for us, we needed a solution that was gonna look really good and run on a mobile processor, like a battery operated GPU. So we had the toughest challenge ahead to try and make that happen.
Very cool. And how did you solve those challenges? What were the solutions that you came up with?
Well, if you want the backstory. So the backstory is, as I said, I come from television. We got into gaming. We kind of sold this idea of celebrity for our previous job where we did was with Dominic Monaghan, one of the hobbits from Lord of the Rings in another experience. And then quickly realized that making photorealistic digital humans, especially 5 years ago, that looked really good is really expensive, and you need some very talented artists to get that done. And then on top of it all, try and make it work in VR on the limited sort of runtime rendering worlds that you're in. It was ridiculous. It was like, how are we going to get this done? And I knew Christina from the time too, and videogrammetry was just beginning back then as well. But it was limited in the sense, now that you're rigging it, it's amazing and there's a whole future there. But it was limited back then in the sense that it wasn't very interactive. It was like a fixed playing character that took a large volume of data to generate and didn't play well with the VR headsets at the time. So we went, okay, we're going to try and solve this with, we basically proposed this idea of because the video helmet mounted cameras now can shoot a face and pull an animation file out of it without all those tracking markers. Just use machine vision. It was just beginning 5 years ago where you could now with FaceWare pull out that animation file, and it left you with clean video of a face. So we thought, what if we take that clean video of the face and then reproject it back into the material of the animated model and try and get that all synced up? And that allowed us to create a much lower poly model and bring all those facial details that we're so visually familiar with back in, not as videogrammetry, but more as just one camera video playing as a texture baked into the face. And then we put that together, and it worked, and it looked quite good. And the best part, it was really well optimized to run on a mobile processor. So we began this applied research project at a local university here in Toronto, and we've been running with that for almost 4 years now and evolved the process to where it is now, where you can now create novel performances. So.
Anybody else? What drives you?
Well, on our end, we fill a very specific niche inside the XR developer community, which is that our reason for being is that we bring like the most authentic, real performances into the metaverse. And so I think that I'm a big fan of animated and synthetic avatars. I'm absolutely obsessed with Jin's avatar, and also the incredible background that he is operating in right now. It's so cool. And also, as Andrew knows, I'm like a big VR chat fanatic, and I love like dressing as a hot dog, presenting as a hot dog every week. So I'm all about like fun avatars in the metaverse. I think that's one of the great kind of powers and superpowers of the metaverse. But that being said, I don't want to spend all my time in a metaverse where there's no like reality reflected, where we're not celebrating any of the best parts of our physical real life reality, and so that's become sort of the mission of Metastage, is to bring the best of our physical real life reality into the metaverse in glorious 3D, so that people anywhere, anytime can appreciate and enjoy that. So it's particularly important when we're talking about recognizable public figures. So if that's musicians, recognizable public figures, celebrities, fashion, sports, all of that kind of stuff. If you want the real thing and only the real thing will do, then volumetric video is the best tool for bringing that into 3D platforms.
Yep.
I love the shout outs to VR chat and sort of like, this whole summit is like all about production. And I think virtual production is a huge like use case, especially like for the future of work. With avatars, you just kind of VR chat is more than just social VR. I kind of think of it also as the real-time sound stage. And we've been building tools, camera systems, and ways to kind of do like music videos in VR chat. And, it's kind of like just talking with some friends is level one. Level two is doing things, and there. And there's some little mini studios popping up all around the world. And every VR device is becoming a sort of real-time mocap, for actors to work remotely, diamond age sort of way.
Yeah. It's interesting, Andrew, bringing up celebrity. We have Bruce Willis just giving up his identity to the studio so that they can use it in perpetuity as an avatar. And same thing with James Earl Jones. He gave Lucasfilms his voice to be used on avatars. And so that's an interesting idea of having that one-to-one digital twin of a person, of a thing. That's very in line with what you, Andrew, and Christina work on. But you've also got this flip side, and I want to talk about that a little bit. I'm going to do a two-parter question here. We've got this flip side where we've got like Ready Player Me and Meta now providing APIs to create avatars that will do very much what Jen is doing right now as an independent developer, partnering with people like Microsoft and Zoom to provide these workspaces, these virtual workspaces with the virtual avatar, and have that presence. So dealing with customization and these APIs, like where is that fine balance for you? And also, how do we avoid falling into these funnels, these API funnels, and losing our true identities, our customization, avoiding the cookie cutter? I'm from Second Life, and in the very beginning of Second Life, there was a lot of innovation and really cool creativity when it came to the avatar, and you had very different types of avatar. And now that mesh has been a very prominent feature of the platform, you have a lot of creators that are creating more cookie cutter style gear and clothing and avatars. And I see that happening a bit with these platforms and these APIs. And I know we're here to talk about rigging and what that means, but that is why we're cookie cutter, because rigging is so hard, and we have to crank out for the masses, for standards for the masses. So where's that delicate balance for you guys? How are you approaching your volumetric captures with this understanding? What tool sets do you use that like make you stand out from these initiatives with these APIs moving forward in the future? So I know it's a big loaded question, but there's a lot going on here.
Well,
Okay.
I'll just jump in real fast, and apologies for my lag on my computer. So on our end, there's a lot of great volumetric video and realistic human avatar tech that's out there that's available at different ranges of professionalism and quality. And so I think, we're starting to see, to your point, software that can do, at least partial 3D reconstruction of everyday people using cell phones and just a few cameras. So I think that's awesome. I think that where Metastage fits into the ecosystem is at the like professional and more high end of the production efforts. We're in a professional soundstage. We have 106 cameras, and so it very much serves a purpose for when you're working with high end talent, celebrities, or projects where you need the asset to be as clean and realistic and high fidelity as possible. That's our aim and our goal. If you need something that is, you can bring to the middle of a forest and do a capture, quickly, then you're probably going to want to go with a different system. So all that to say, I don't want to come off like, inaccessible. We try to work with as many projects we try to work with as many projects and creators as we possibly can, and we have programs and indie discounts and things that we try to offer because, again, we want to see more great volumetric projects come to life, more interesting use cases. So, but yeah, we're a professional team doing that kind of those kinds of projects.
Anybody else?
I think so. The question was about sort of pipelines or standards.
It was a bit of like, how do you make customize avatars with tool sets that are available, and how do you really feel about a customized avatar versus these more cookie cutter pipelines that
I don't really know too many people that use Ready Player Me. They raised a big round recently, but like it's kind of normie tier, and normies are important. But I think that when you are hanging out in places like VRChat, the longer you stay, the more you want to explore weird UGC creations. And their platform, if you look at the license info, they're non-commercial CC BY avatars, so you can't even really. It doesn't really feel like you own it, And I think ownership is very central to the whole thing about digital identity, and the open metaverse being, user-centric, designing around that person. And I think not everyone wants to look like themselves. In fact, they want to run away at the opposite direction as fast as possible, usually. So, yeah, I think the cookie cutters are kind of cool to kind of get your feet wet. But the more you dive in, the more you want to explore the abstract and the weird. And
so when you dive in, what tool sets do you start with to get your feet wet in actually customizing your avatar and making it more personalized?
Personally, I like Vroid Studio because you could start out with something that is CC0. You truly own it. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here's a screenshot of it. It has sliders, so it's like easy mode. And then it exports a VRM. And VRM is super awesome because then you could basically bring it with you to any kind of platform. Here's like a showcase of different places. And here's like there's hundreds of platforms that support it, including for VTubing, which is what I'm using now. So not only as your virtual world avatar, it's also something you can use on live streams as just a file instead of a permissioned SDK, from a company that they're providing hooks into these different platforms with.
Yeah, this is fascinating. Yeah, there's two kind of different streams here. There's the personal avatar, like Jin's talking about here, and it's fascinating to see how Ready Player Me is just normcore or what have you, and you've got your own path and pipelines to make them, and also the universality of them is so key to this, that they'll work in multi-platforms. I think that's the biggest challenge the metaverse world has. Whereas in my use cases, and probably a lot of Christina's, is where we make commercial avatars, so they're like specific celebrity for specific purpose and specific project. So yeah, and in my case, as far as bringing it back to rigging, we found that using some of the stuff that Reallusion's done, that Character Creator 3 has really streamlined our pipeline. So before, we were doing the traditional avatar creation, like Andy Serkis Gollum kind of thing, where you would, or to make a real person, you would take them into a photogrammetry booth and scan like 40 different expressions and neutral poses and solve all those scans and retopologize them, line them all up, and then rig them so that they go into the right poses and shapes. And our last avatar that we did, in fact, there's a demo that I have that I think I downloaded a video for right here. We did this off a single scan and Reallusion's Character Creator to drive the rig. Not a sync, but
pretty good. Yeah, that's very cool. So that actually brings me to a new question. What are your favorite techniques for optimizing these avatars, optimizing your typology, the triangles, retaining your fidelity? What are your shader techniques? Like, give us some of your tips and tricks of what you do to get to that fidelity.
You want the secret sauce?
I want the secret sauce, exactly.
Well, I mean,
give us what you're comfortable with, and I'd like to hear from everybody.
Sure. Well, we're safe because I'm not the guy who does this shit. This stuff. I'm not a shader coder. I have a high level understanding of what's needed and what's being done. I guess the key challenge for me, because I lived through it, was taking compressed video, which is what we're doing. We're baking that in as a texture, as a video atlas on a face, and which is an MPEG. So it's a compressed video, which is basically a set of keyframes with a mathematical extrapolation of what happens between those keyframes. And there's a buffer in there that'll buffer it and play it. So it's never really running perfectly. Whereas an FBX, an animation is tick, 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 tick. It's perfect. So we've actually, had to develop a method that the video will drive the animation, and that keeps our face in sync. So, that's some secret sauce behind it. But otherwise, with the rest of the shader stuff, it's the standard stuff. You've got the opportunity to have an AO map in there and a specular map, and get the lips all shiny. You can, groom it with haircuts. So what we're doing with our characters is bringing that fidelity into that ecosystem, which is becoming more and more streamlined through tools like Reallusion's Character Creator, which are now just plug and play. There's an infinite library of hair and facial beardness. You can make all different body sizes and shapes. You've got a whole closet of wardrobe you can dress your characters with, and it's almost drag and drop. So once you've got in there, then you can plug into systems like that and play and create stuff.
Yeah, on our end, we use at the moment we use the Microsoft Mixed Reality Capture system to do our capture, reconstruction, and compression. So it's a blend of infrared cameras which shoot out a lot of infrared points from which a mesh is derived. And then that mesh, there's a UV map which applies all the visual and textural data from the RGB cameras to that mesh. And that is then decimated to only what's necessary for, a very high quality reconstruction of the performance, and also maximizing compression. So we can have tiny file sizes that stream on, common devices like cell phones and iPads, all the way up to HoloLenses, Quests, Vives, and the like. I also want to throw out that, we throw in like a standard T-pose on all of our shoots as well, because it takes us like a second to capture the T-pose. And then you can then add a skeleton using tools like Arcturus and do some reanimation. So, if you want to have one of our captures, let's say like run across the back of the scene or do a break dance, you can just add a skeleton and then throw an animation on them, and suddenly they're doing all these fun, wacky moves. It's definitely not the level of like the Bruce Willis avatar. You're not going to be fooling anybody for future cinema with these T-poses, but they are a great tool for, building out games, and we can do it really easily. And it's also useful for subtle retargeting. So if you're doing things like a branching narrative where you want to have an interactive experience with volumetric video and you need to match cut like one clip to another clip, you can do like a subtle retargeting of the hand so that it matches the previous clip. I also just wanted to echo Jen's comment about how most people don't want to look like themselves, and want to play with alternate avatars. That is true, and I will say that there are definitely some times when I look at volumetric, even like super high quality volumetric captures of myself, I'm like, oh my God, like that's really what I look like. You're only used to seeing yourself in like a mirror in front of you, and you never really get usually the full 3D. But it does have some interesting value when it comes to preserving memories and moments. I've captured my nieces, I've captured my sisters and I doing things together. And I like to think about how much value these volumetric keepsakes will have in the future, particularly like as display technologies advance, and also as we age, just having these moments, frozen forever is exciting.
It's beautiful.
On the topic of optimization, I like to work in public, so I got like tons of notes on this. We do things that you can take your VRM file and it can automatically generate like all sorts of LODs of it. So in terms of tools, I think MeshOpt and Avatar Asset Pipeline, which I had on my screen here somewhere. This one, yeah. This one seems pretty cool. Avatar Asset Pipeline does all sorts of plumbing for you in terms of converting and generating LODs. But we want to make that as easy as drag and drop for artists so that we can have more optimized stuff in the metaverse. And I think VRChat is a good idea, just having a fallback avatar as performance. But with their fallback avatar system, you don't really look like yourself anymore. You know, you get replaced with this robot dude. And so we want to find ways where you can be replaced with something super optimized, and from a distance it looks believable, but you know, it can run faster and be less download for people with slower connections.
Yeah, that's an important task to figure out, like especially when we're dealing with multiple users on different devices. Figuring out the best way to support everybody with the avatar is very important. So good work. Yeah. So let me ask one last question. What predictions do you guys have for avatars moving forward in the future? I just want to throw one out that I was thinking about when you were talking, Christina, about looking like yourself. And the codec avatar was presented at Meta. You know, it's their future of exact scanning of you and you being able to change your clothes and whatnot. I would like to have a codec avatar like that where I can keep my base avatar as myself, but then be able to do things like move parts of my face out, or, you know, do plastic surgery on the fly if I wanted to, or change my body size to be something kind of instant. You know, that's something I think would be really cool to do, that kind of shape shifting on the fly at any given moment. But what kind of predictions do you guys have? And we only have 2 more minutes, so quick round.
That's fascinating, though, because as Jin was saying, or Christine was saying, you want to kind of trend away from who you look like most of the time when you're building your own private avatars and make this Instagram version of yourself. And you're saying, let's start with the base model of me and then go from there. Which is cool.
From there. Which is what, like, for example, I'm using Snapchat right now to, you know, wear makeup, and I can easily change it. But it's my base avatar is myself, you know, and I can easily change it at any time to go back to whatever I want it to look like. So yeah, I would like to do that with an actual mesh avatar as well.
I'll go quickly. I think that definitely is the future. I think that from what I've been seeing is it will be as simple as that. You've scanned your face, boom, it's done and rendered. And then through either a video or even text to speech, you will have a procedurally generated character that will look exactly like you. And it'll be available ubiquitously to everybody right here. So that's probably the future. Where you go with it from there, I think anyone can go. Yeah.
I simply think VRM is the future in terms of premier interoperable avatar formats. So go VRM.
Yeah.
Is that a bone driven or a morph shape driven system?
It's morph.